Hey guys, you're watching Team APS. I'm Paul, and today I'm going to be sharing 5 tips to know before you buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards. These include things like, when to buy, what to get, where to get things. I know that a lot of people get into Yu-Gi-Oh and obviously money becomes a factor. You have to purchase some cards or some products, and so these are tips and best practices that will help you out. But before we get into that, I do want to give a quick shout out to the Team APS YouTube channel members. So if you don't know, this is actually a feature that YouTube has where you can pay $5 a month and support our channel. It supports what we do. It helps me get new gear for videos. It helps us go to different Yu-Gi-Oh events and continue delivering great Yu-Gi-Oh content for you guys. So shout out to those of you guys who are already in, and if you're interested in joining, the link is down below in the description. So first things first, single versus bulk. This is a very popular debate, and really I wouldn't even call it a debate because the answer is pretty clear. Buying Yu-Gi-Oh card singles is generally just a better thing to do than buying bulk products. So that means if you're trying to build a deck, it's better to just get the individual cards yourself online or from your local vendor or card shop instead of buying lots and lots of packs and hoping that you'll pull it. Because Yu-Gi-Oh packs can be very unpredictable. You really don't get any guarantees in terms of like ratios with what you'll pull and stuff like that. So oftentimes it's just in your best interest to buy the cards outright. You'll get exactly what you need, and it's just a more direct thing. You don't want to waste lots of money opening box after box after box and not getting the things that you need. I've had a lot of bad experiences with actually doing this. When I wanted to play the Witchcrafter deck that came out earlier this year and I needed 3 Witchcrafter creations, I opened 3 boxes and I only pulled 1 Witchcrafter creation, I think. It was a really sad story, and I was like, wow, for the price of that, I could have just purchased 3 individual ones for myself. And that goes for lots of different decks, so it's a really good thing to keep in mind. However, buying bulk products isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you just like opening packs, then that's fine. Or, if you're trying to kind of just simply move cards, like, you want to open lots of boxes, pull good cards, and then just sell them for a profit, it could be in your best interest to buy bulk products, but you still need to buy a lot of them. So just buying 1 or 2 boxes can be fun if you just want to open packs. But if you're trying to make money out of this, then I would say it might be a better idea to look into getting cases and stuff like that. But you're probably not doing that unless you're a vendor already or like a card shop owner. So generally speaking, purchase singles, don't waste a lot of money on booster packs. So the second thing I want to talk about is when is the best time to purchase cards? Because if you ask me, Yu-Gi-Oh cards basically kind of have a shelf life, a seasonality to them, you might say. So you can of course buy cards when they first come out. Depending on how and when you do this, you can actually save a bit of money. So if a card comes out and you think that it might go up in price later on, it could be a good time to purchase it. An example of this that I always think of was Magical Spring, which came out, I believe, in Duelist Alliance. So this is a secret rare spell, and early on it was not something that people really wanted to pull. It was only worth a few bucks. However, as Pendulum decks got stronger and stronger, this actually became a really powerful counterplay card to those strategies. So a card that was just a few dollars early on, later became, 15, as high as maybe like $20 at its prime. So that was a really big deal. Another instance would be something like Trap Trick, which when it first came out actually only cost about $10, I want to say, $8 or $10. But then when it picked up in popularity like it is now, it actually has become, 30, 35, even as high as like 40 bucks I've seen online. And you have to have multiple copies of that card to even play it. So if you have a hunch that a card's going to be really valuable, it might be in your best interest to pick up, a playset or even 2 playsets depending on the price early on. That said though, some really strong meta-relevant cards kind of have that shelf life I was talking about, where they will eventually of course be reprinted, as almost anything in Yu-Gi-Oh is, and I would say that shelf life is about 9 months. So after a card has been expensive for maybe like 6-7 months, that's usually when you'll start to hear murmurings of it getting reprinted. Examples of cards like that right now are Thunder Dragon Colossus. It's a secret rare card in Soul Fusion, and it was as high as 60-70 bucks at its prime. Right now it's maybe only about $30, and we know that we are getting these new Megatins coming this year, so that card's probably going to be in it, which means that its price is going to lower. So now wouldn't really be the best time to pay like high dollar for a card like that. On the other hand, something like, Fantastical Dragon Phantasme, or even a better example might be No Material that just came out, those cards are still probably worth buying as long as you can get just a decent deal for them, because they're going to be expensive for several more months before they actually get reprints. And for that reason, it's okay to buy those cards. Now, that doesn't mean, go spend your money if you can't afford them in the first place. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just saying to keep in mind how long a card's been out before you dump lots and lots of money into it. Now is actually a really relevant time to talk about that because the national season is finishing up. And that means that a lot of people are going to be trying to offload a lot of these cards. So you'll see people trying to get rid of their Thunder Dragon deck or get rid of their Sky Striker deck. But as we know, Thunder Dragons will probably be getting reprinted soon, and definitely Sky Strikers we already know are getting reprinted in Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge. So this is not the time to pay, $20 or $30 for a copy of Sky Striker Mobilize Engage when we know it's getting a reprint. This even goes for ban lists too, but that's a little bit less predictable, so I didn't want to include it outright. But yes, if you think a card is liable to get hit on the ban list, and a ban list is right around the corner, kind of like the situation we're in now, it also might not be a good time to pick it up. Another thing to keep in mind is motivations. So why are you buying the cards, and maybe more importantly, why are you playing the game? So if you're playing casually, I don't think it really makes a lot of sense to pay, much more than like $10, $15, $20 for a card. If you're, a collector, maybe it's a little bit different. But if you're not planning on going to regionals every weekend, YCS events every month, do you really need to spend, $100 for a Phantasme or, nearly $300 for a playset of them? The same goes for the Danger cards, for instance. They have really high price tags because they're really strong and useful in competitive play, at least the ones like Nessie and Tsuchinoko. But if you're not going to be at a YCS event like, month after month after month, you're probably not going to really get your money's worth out of them. If you're only playing locally or just playing with a group of friends, I don't really suggest spending that kind of money on those cards. And in fact, many of those cards do have budget replacements. We actually made a video pretty recently with budget replacements for the Dangers, Phantasme, Borrelsword Dragon, Pot of Extravagance, those types of cards. They'll get reprinted eventually, so if you don't absolutely have to have them for that next big event, I really strongly suggest just waiting. And just as a small sort of thing I'm remembering just now, remember that, rarities and stuff like that also aren't necessarily a big deal unless, you had that itch and you gotta scratch it. Because a lot of cards do come as commons or like lower rarities, so be more than okay with picking those up unless you just have to, haul out your favorite deck. I get it, I understand, that's like me with spell books, so I can get it if you ignore that a little bit. The next bit of advice is use your existing cards to get more cards. I say this because I've seen a lot of people spend far more money than I think is healthy to spend on this game. We said this time and time again, Yu-Gi-Oh cards can get expensive. Cards can cost hundreds of dollars and decks can cost nearly $1,000 at times. And if you're the type of person who just kind of wants to have hollow versions of everything or that type of thing, the cutting edge meta deck, then it's easy to just, dump your whole wallet on this stuff. But my advice would be to just use the cards you already have. So if you know that a ban list is around the corner or that you just, finished a major event, that might be a good time to try to sell the big deck that you have now and use the money that you get from it to buy new decks or just straight up trade. I know a lot of trading doesn't necessarily happen as much in Yu-Gi-Oh these days, but it definitely still does in my card shop. So if you ever can, try to trade cards for cards. That way, if you make a big initial investment in Yu-Gi-Oh and you spend, a few $100s on cards for your binder, you won't have to keep on spending more and more and more every month. You can take what you have, turn it into new cards. And finally, use TCG Player. I really do mean it. I mean, I didn't get paid to say it. TCG Player is probably the best place to buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I can't really think of anything else. They have great prices. They have a lot of kickback sales. Like, literally, at first they would have these maybe like once every month or two. Now there's like a kickback sale every week. And the way that the kickback sale works is when you buy a card, you'll get a small percentage of what you paid back as store credit. this is great and kind of goes a little bit in line with the last tip of if you buy lots of cards online, then this can actually sort of build up pretty quickly and can use that money you got from getting these cards to get more cards. So if you're interested in TCG Player, there's of course a link down in the video description. It's where I've bought all of my cards for years. They do sponsor this channel, but I didn't, like I said, get paid to say that. I just really like the place and I think more people should use it. Now, of course, if you have a local card shop that sells cards or products, definitely buy from there first. It's always important to support your local scene. But if that isn't the case for you, or if it's just not something you can get locally, the TCG Player really is an incredible alternative. And that's it. Those are some tips for you guys when you are buying Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You don't necessarily have to spend a bunch of money, and hopefully this went a bit of a long ways in helping you guys to save some money but still be able to get the Yu-Gi-Oh cards that you need. If you found the video informative, give it a thumbs up. Of course, subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos and skits and discussions and all sorts of stuff just like this. Check out TCG Player. They are the channel sponsor, so the link in the description helps us out if you click it. And check out Inked Gaming. You can get a custom Team APS playmat just like this one, or any playmat on their site, or any custom image or design that you want turned into a playmat. It can all be done at Inked Gaming, and if you do, use the discount code APS10 and you'll get 10% off anything site-wide. Pretty awesome. All right, that's gonna be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.